Hello everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be discussing Ethereum. What is happening with Ethereum? Is it going to 20,000? Well, let's take a look at it right now. Alright guys, if you haven't already, subscribe, drop a comment, hit the bell for all the latest news and updates on cryptocurrency metaverse. Alright, so Ethereum has been doing really great. It's actually been doing so great that it's had a wonderful run. But if you notice about today and yesterday, that is actually kind of bleeding a little bit. Well, don't worry. It could be a good sign and it could be a bad sign. But what we're looking at particularly is that the candle is getting bought into. So it is kind of like dropping out here at the bull point, right? So that's not too bad. But it is a time to be careful, especially right now. It's not something that you want to see, especially with this candle, because if you notice, like right here, how it's like, okay, so we have some buyers and then we have some sellers, right? Well, it kind of signifies that it could be the top for that. So it's not exactly the news that you want to hear, specifically speaking. But the good news is that it's going on 50-50 in both ways, because you have some buyers and you have some sellers, right? So that's happening. But you can see this too as well. It's like back in November, the same thing happened. We got to the top and then it started kind of moving down. As well as when we were kind of coming over here, it got to the top and then coming back down. And then the same thing kind of repeated itself several times. And so it's a good sign that you should be careful, right? So it's something you want to watch out for, but it could potentially go up too. So it's just something we're going to have to watch, because the couple of days has been kind of iffy, you can say. But other than that, it's actually looking pretty good for this. So even though it's kind of going down, but it's actually still bought into, so it's kind of canceling out, if you would. So that's not, like, again, that's nothing to really panic over. There's already enough panic happening with the rest of the coins. And when we're speaking about the weekly as well, the weekly is actually very good, right? So when you're looking at our chart here, the candle in itself is fantastic, right? So it's doing pretty good, and I think that in the next couple of days too, it should be it's really going to give us a lot of sign, because we had this movement of this rather sideways movement kind of happening. So that's a big plus with that. So like, don't freak out too much here. So it's nothing like we're going to like really be too much worried into. But we just want to see that moving forward, right? All right. Let's speak about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is, I guess you can say, everybody's favorite, right? No, seriously. Bitcoin is actually not looking too hot, especially on the daily candle, right? So we were doing pretty well. The thing with Bitcoin, speaking on that, Bitcoin is like in the upper halfway channel, right? So when we're speaking about that, it's in the halfway mark, and that's what you're going to see here as well. So it is in the upper channel, the upper side of the channel, which is pretty good. But it's going down. It's going down, and we're going to get into the price of it exactly here in a few minutes. But it's still continuing to kind of like have a hard time actually breaking over that resistance, right? So it's wanting to, but it's still having that problem. And that's what we're speaking about before, is that Bitcoin's going to go down before it goes back up, and it's that time of year, anyways, for it to happen. But it could shoot back up to 100 grand. But I think the other coins are really going to benefit, especially Ethereum, by the time before this happens. So we're going to look at probably some sideways action from Bitcoin. It's going to struggle a little bit more and more. We definitely need some more buyers into it. But that's where we're at, right? So it's not looking so great, so definitely want to watch out. But it is typical, and so it actually being over the upper channel is good news. So don't completely freak out on it, but it is something to be a little cautious on and just keep an eye on, right? As for Cardano, right? So Cardano, I guess we got a special relationship with Cardano. Cardano is doing much better. It is doing much better. So finally, it's actually making some kind of improvement, right? As you can see for the daily, like, look at that candle, right? Like, it's doing really good. So everybody's buying into that dip, which is really good, especially given the fact that we started back here the 27th of November, right? And then the 28th, and then of course some selling happened. But Cardano is looking rather well, and so it's going to, I think it's going to increase in itself, right? So as of like yesterday and today, so it's definitely showing up. It looks like maybe we can probably relax a little bit, right? So we definitely want to see it. So it is kind of fighting back from that fall, but we still have a long ways to go. If you compare to like where we were in September, right? September all the way in, like man, it's like we were fighting for that so strongly. Like we were really fighting tooth and nail, but now we have it so where it's starting to at least make a comeback, and so that's what we want to see, right? So even for the weekly, let's take a look at the weekly. Even for the weekly here, it's still showing that like they're trying to buy into that dip, right? So pretty good deal. All right, XRP. Everybody's like worried about XRP because that lawsuit did get pushed over until next year, and so that's what we're kind of waiting on for now to really see a good rally from XRP, right? We really want to see that. Now we had that too from like in August, right? And this is the weekly. I'm sorry. Let's look at the daily. So like the daily is not too hot, like so, you know, we really wanted to see that rally coming back from like the beginning of November, right? It started doing like much better. Started dip back in, dip back up, shoot back up. So now it's still kind of like we want to get right back there. So it looks like we made a new resistance line here. So we need to get back over this point at the very least, right? So hold your horses too as well, and it could potentially go back up, but everything is kind of like slowing down because, well, this lawsuit got pushed back, and so, but it's one of those coins that is making a lot of controversy simply for the fact it's because it's in a lawsuit, right? That's why it's so important to be careful with this coin, because it's not exactly a conservative move to buy XRP. So people are very careful into it because, of course, they want to see it go up, but given the fact that everybody's just scared to lose, right? So, well, we'll see where it goes from there. All right, let's take a look at the market today, right? A lot of red, but let's go into it, right? So, Bitcoin about 2% in the red, 2.21%. The weekly is in the red too at 4.10, not great. Ethereum's up for the week by 1.25% and in the red by 4.01% for the 24-hour period. Binance the same. Solana is doing good on the weekly at almost 5%. And it's almost, well, it's about 0.5% for the weekly, so not so great. Now, speaking of Cardano, 24-hour period is actually going up almost by 7%, so 6.69% is going up. XRP took a hit for the weekly at almost 8% in the red, and a hit for almost 3.5% for the daily. So another one, as well as Polkadot hit in the red by 10.15, right? But another great coin is Terra Luna's doing fantastic too. It's up by 56% for the week, which is really great, and a 24-hour period for 11.24%. Doing fantastic, doing really great. Even Shiba's up for the weekly at 6% as well. If we're speaking about Uniswap is up by 3.76 as well, and Polygon is up by 8% as well for the weekly. Both of those are on the weekly, so they're doing really great. So we'll keep an eye on these coins. You can see again, Polygon was doing really good as well. So a lot of these gaming coins are actually picking back up, and that's what we were expecting with this kind of crash before Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, I think, is going to go back down to way before it's going to go back up, and I think the other coins are really going to benefit from this. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. Catch you next time. Do subscribe, drop a comment, hit the bell, get the news and updates. All right, guys.